Right here. Mine just kicked me out.
I'm Sean Schwartz. I got a call earlier from a party line that ended up being from everybody from you guys to the sheriff's office. And I was expecting a call from a lady today from your office.
I believe Alana tried calling you. Let me see if she's still here.
All right.
Like your little dance move. One of my family for generations. That was a good work run.
Evan? Welcome back. Awesome. This is the incoming outpatient.
Yes, ma'am.
Loading.
Did you just log out of it?
It kicked me out.
Sometimes it still
Kicked me out.
Sorry, I didn't mean for you to come down here. I was just returning your call after we talked earlier today. I'm
Yes,
Alana,
ma'am.
the behavioral health assistant.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay.
I'm not sure if they faxed you from the Department of Health and Human Services yet.
I don't think so. Nothing has been given to me and I haven't been made aware of anything.
All right. Well, I went down there this morning about a bunch of abuse because I was sent here and also to TFCC about abuse because of the mandated reporter thing. And instead of getting the mandated reporter thing going on, I ended up getting the runaround and getting set up for therapy appointments and running around and doing a bunch of stuff that none of it gets the crimes turned in. I'm an at-risk and disabled adult, and it's very overwhelming for me financially. I can't afford to take care of myself, let alone run around all the services. So I went down there this morning, and she's going to try to make sure that the mandated reporters are doing their jobs. And they're gonna hopefully try to coordinate with you guys to get me a place where I can sit down with the evidence and actually have assistance with it like I'm supposed to have by law, instead of me running around to therapy appointment after therapy appointment. Danelle Boggs set me up with an appointment with TFCC after I explained that they were committing Medicare and Medicaid fraud by literally not doing their jobs as mandated reporters and instead setting me up for therapy appointment after therapy appointment. So when Danelle sent me back to them and said she'd make the recommendation, I still had to go in alone. And instead of doing their jobs as mandated reporters, they went straight for the therapy thing again. I can't afford to go to therapy after therapy after therapy with, 2 to 3 weeks in between each therapy session. And the thing with mandated reporters is they're supposed to do something now, not 3 weeks from now, not set up appointments and take the taxpayers' money, because that's Medicare and Medicaid fraud. It's also failure to report, and because of the failure to report with Medicare and Medicaid fraud, it turns into a bunch of felonies all around. So the lady from Health and Human Services is supposed to help to coordinate to see to it that everybody does their jobs.
I noticed that. Okay.
Yeah,
Have you heard me?
and do you have a name
It
of
sounded like you were.
who you spoke with earlier?
I do, actually. I think I might have it written on one of my cards here. Let me see. If not, I have it on
This is
one of my
Broadway,
cards.
so you start your weekend
yeah.
early.
It's okay,
Yeah.
but you said it was from DHS.
Yes, ma'am. They're supposed to help to coordinate with Adult Protective Services and assist me in preserving the evidence and getting it turned in, which has been a major issue, being as instead of mandated reporters doing their jobs, they basically downplay everything that I say, or talk over me, or try to make suggestions of things that aren't okay. One of the things they're going to want to do is talk to Mel, especially since she used to work at TFCC, and since they did the same thing. Also, with the last meeting we had, there was a few things that she said that are pretty important for the Department of Health and Human Services to know. The lady that I spoke with is a friend of Joy, and also she knows Janelle, and she's a couple other people that she wanted to send me to. Hopefully she'll be able to get it coordinated, but being as it's Friday,
Stephanie
she won't be able to do anything until Monday. Between now and then, I have a lot of safety risks and issues with the police as well as the general public in the area. But yeah, I was instructed to call you guys a while ago. I did call a while ago. I also showed up to. I went through the paperwork to set up therapy appointments. I
Really,
thought I
I've
was
never done
setting
this.
it up
I
for
know.
appointments
So
to
we're
turn
we're
everything
obviously
in legal
gonna
like.
still let me talk.
And legally,
Yep, that's
you're
it.
supposed to get a hold of
That's
law
it.
enforcement and adult
Nope,
protective
it's not.
services, social services, who has
No,
the
right.
adult protective
Because that's what I'm
services
saying.
workers
That's
show
all
up.
she has to do. This is for
But
the.
nobody made any attempt to even try that. I do have a recording with,
We have.
I do have a recording with, sorry, I got distracted.
No, you're fine.
Uh-oh, Stevie's going to the front door. She's
And
done.
lots of extraneous noises kind of distracts me. I know it's distracting most people, but it's especially distracting for me. I did follow up the best that I could with all of the stuff on here. But TFCC, I explained to them that I was being sent to them and had been referred by now to as mandated reporters, and that I went to them as mandated reporters. Even though I explained to the lady that I was again going there because they're mandated reporters, they again set me up with therapy instead. This is going all the way back to November of last year. I was also assaulted at the very same hospital on January 28th of this year by one of the doctors in front of one of the ladies from TFCC. I believe her name is Kate or Catherine, something like that. Also, because of my best friend getting shot in Colorado and the negative attention by web sleuth groups and true crime and stuff like that, I still have people who harass me and attempt to destroy a lot of the evidence that's online, which is why it's important to do it as soon as possible. And my disabilities prevent me from doing anything.
You know, the one day.
Yeah, I've done great.
So that's why I was sent to all these different services, is because they're supposed to help me. Instead, they tell me it's not their job.
No, it
to
was
do
literally
someone
one
else.
day we lost it and
So
I was
has
in this
anybody
morning. And I was like.
directed you at all towards any
I started calling out like
attorneys or
inspectors.
anything like that yet?
Yes, ma'am. I actually went to attorneys first. The problem with attorneys, you don't just magically get a free pro bono lawyer because you're ugly or broke.
No.
So
Okay, so this is what we need.
I wasn't calling you ugly. I saw myself in the mirror this morning.
No,
Yeah,
I
I went from one mirror into
Turn it
50
back
of
on.
all
Oh,
different
my
shapes,
Get it refreshed.
right? Horrible.
No. Well, no, so these ones here, that's what I was calling you about, because after we spoke earlier, I went and talked with one of our care coordinators and I asked, what can we do, as far as, what you were asking? And she said, well, there's not really like someone that can sit down and help and gather evidence other than like an attorney or somebody in like a law setting.
Well, I've already gathered the evidence. I need help turning it in. That's why I'm going to mandated reporters. As far as attorneys go, I've been called mentally ill. they won't touch it without a friend or family member present, and I don't have one, which is why I get sent to you guys and the different services like this. You're all supposed to have mandated reporters on hand. I'm supposed to tell them what's going on in the state of Oregon, an accusation of abuse and an at-risk adult, somebody who is called mentally ill, somebody who is 65 or older, or in a assisted living, or somebody who is developmentally or physically disabled. If I go to them and I tell them what's going on, by law, they're supposed to get a hold of the law enforcement as well as get a hold of Health and Human Services immediately. And that has not changed in any of the states that I've been in. It's literally the same everywhere. The only difference is who is a mandated reporter. In this state, it's just professionals. In the state of Nebraska, literally everybody by law is a mandated reporter. In the state of Colorado, it's pretty much just professionals, and there's two professions that are exempt. Here in the state of Oregon, they don't have those exemptions. So when I was explaining to Dr. Janelle about the issues that I was having, she's actually required by law to get a hold of law enforcement immediately. Also, if there's an issue with the law enforcement officer who shows up, you're supposed to dismiss that officer immediately because it creates a safety issue. Making me speak to the officer by myself, especially when they have violated my rights. And I'm a disabled person, so they're taking advantage of that as well. It's something that I can't be forced to go to them by myself because I will get taken advantage of. That's why I recorded it. I made sure that I got the recording with Dr. Boggs, so that's, all set up and ready, so that I don't have to try to come back and do that again, especially while she's on grand maternity leave, which I've never heard of before until she told me.
Yeah, well, it's more like I took a little vacation because she was doing great, but yeah.
Well, with her talking about how she quit her job at TFCC because of the issues that are over there, especially regarding people following the laws and how at-risk and disabled people are treated. She cited that as her reason for leaving TFCC. But she also sent me to TFCC as a resource. The thing with attorneys, with them being called mentally ill, like I said, they won't pick it up without a friend or family member. So I'm supposed to come to a place like this, and it's not actually my job to collect the evidence. But I've had to collect the evidence because law enforcement won't investigate or do anything. They feel that they don't have to follow the laws, the mandated reporter laws. Instead, they're gonna have me to the side. They're gonna talk to me one-on-one, which creates a safety issue for me. And it also prevents the people that are supposed to be working with them from making sure that there's a checks and balance. You guys being there is supposed to prevent them from overstepping their bounds. Them being there is supposed to prevent you guys from overstepping their bounds. But it's all supposed to, like I said, it's supposed to be law enforcement and Department of Health and Human Services, because that's who APS works through. So when I tell people about the crimes and I'm having communication issues like I am today, it makes it very difficult. I will continue to have communication issues probably for a couple of days because of the threats, harassment, and intimidation that I had to go through yesterday and the day before, trying to turn stuff in again to mandated reporters who, again, didn't get a hold of Adult Protective Services or DHS or... That's the thing about law enforcement. I explained to them that I'm an at-risk and disabled adult and that I need somebody there from Adult Protective Services. I've got over recordings where I've said that since I got to them. And they are on YouTube so that the public has access to them, and also so that if somebody happens to investigate and I'm allowed a place where I can sit down with it, they'll actually do something. As far as me providing myself with a place to sit down and go through evidence, that's not my job. I was forced into homelessness because of abuse by, well, you know about suicide, I'm sure. It's usually a two-part system. One, you're being abused. Number two, trusted adult that you're sent to doesn't do their job. I know that that
Good. I
applies
feel like your name's Kyle,
with
yes.
children, but it also does
Did they
still
gotta find
apply just
counselors?
as strictly to adults. It's
I
just
don't
not
Or do you have an appointment?
generally taught the way that it's taught in situations.
Okay.
Like the McGruff bully thing. I followed that.
I finally
The
found her,
laws
she's
are
on her
set
way.
up very similar to the McGruff bully thing. But the problem is without those checks and balances, these people don't do their jobs. And that's why when I had the officer come down,
So that's
there
who
should have
first
been
asked?
a mandated
Yes.
Okay.
reporter,
So I like to.
there and present. And the Adult Protective Services.
Got an appointment with Dr.
Adult
Brown,
Protective
CDL.
Services, again, was never notified, and the officer spoke with me
system is
alone,
down.
despite
Oh,
the fact
nice.
he's one of the officers.
We're rocking old school. It's gonna be so much fun.
Counseling center and the same
Kyle?
thing with the 7K Adventist Hospital where I was assaulted on January 28th by a doctor. All of the people who was there, including that lady from TSPC, are all mandated reporters, and not one of them bothered to contact police or Adult Protective Services.
It's like the old
Not one
school
of
way.
them tried to
Well,
turn
that's for
in
him.
their
You're
coworker,
welcome.
and that's why mandated reporting is so important
Okay.
and why it's mandated. And that's one of the things
Since
that's
we don't know
covered
what
in
we have on
mandated
file for
reporting.
you,
Of course,
we
it
need
is,
to have,
when somebody
this
makes the allegation,
to be
even if
seen.
it's your coworker, even if it's,
The
you know,
cool
your
part
boss,
is, even though you probably
have
have
to
them on
turn it in.
file, they read you as a
They
claim,
do.
so.
The
Yeah.
appointment that I got set up at TFCC the other day, when I was explaining to the lady that I was at TFCC, because how long they sent me there, that lady at the reception desk literally just talked over me, did not hear a word I had to say, showed absolutely no respect for what I was saying, or even
You said it's a
acknowledged what
Dr.
I was
Brown?
saying.
Yeah.
For 320.
So that's one of the things about me being sent around all these different places. I've been to
yes, please.
probably half a dozen therapy appointments by now, and at least 2 hospital visits, and still none of the mandated reporting stuff and them working together is actually happening. Sending me to another agency by myself is exactly the opposite of what's supposed to happen. Farming me off on another agency is the opposite of what's supposed to happen. Yesterday, I was able to record people from the city government as well as the police department. When I tried to turn in the issues that I was having, I had to call 911. The DA's office told me to call 911. I called 911. When I called 911, they sent out an officer to threaten me and threaten me with jail for calling 911 about the issues. And the issues at this point are now issues of being afraid of the police. And the name, something Hampton.
Like only if you want
to.
to, typically people don't put them there.
And it's the office next to the Department of Aging. Our office for aging.
Now, I'm supposed to
Oh,
give
yeah,
this to you, you're
Northwest
supposed to
Senior
fill that out, so it's the same,
That one,
everything
yeah.
that's on this
I know
one.
that one.
The same as what's on here, so
Um,
I'm gonna stick this towards the back.
So I think I
This is for
recall,
receiving.
Does that look like it's got
So
staph
you're gonna
infection?
take that back with you, you're gonna fill in the blue sections.
I don't know, I'm actually not familiar with staff, I don't think
This will
so.
fill out, the green he'll
Um,
fill out. Just
so-
the blue is for you.
if you like,
I
I can
guess that's,
see
I'll check in, I've never been.
if Esther's
Never done this.
available.
Computerless.
It's a computer
If you-
game, yeah.
I don't know if we want to talk to her at all.
So just over here.
We can do that.
Thank you.
I will
Yes, you just
probably,
finished all of that.
I
She
gotta,
ran off with my downtime progress
fill out
form,
some,
so.
I've done it, madam.
we
I
call
know, I
those release
guess
of
she just
information
mentioned
forms,
about
and I can
the
fill those out
brown
for
ones.
Esther so that
Just
she
did.
can speak with the lady from the invest, yeah.
Okay, yeah, why don't I go see, cause I'm not sure if she has any patients right now.
There's also another issue of, because I have to record live on, YouTube on YouTube for my safety. There's a lot of people a lot of stalkers who will look up, the names of people who work here and then, call me and pretend to be somebody who works here. I did try to turn it in because somebody tried to pretend to be someone named Dove Rainbow, and the reason that I checked into it and it was a red flag for me is because I thought it was a fake name. I thought somebody made it up. Well, I verified with the lady who was working here that day that
that Dove Rainbow does exist, but
Yeah, we
that's
have.
not Dove Rainbow's, that's not Dove Rainbow's
There's a ton of
number.
mail
Somebody
back
was
there.
pretending to be
You want me
Dove
to go
Rainbow.
do mail
and
or
didn't tell
what?
me.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm not sure the name of that crime is at the moment.
Identity.
Identity fraud, yes, but there's also more that goes into it because they're gaslighting me for trying to turn in my predators. With mandated reporters not doing their jobs for over a year before my best friend got a grade thrown out, I try to record literally everything because mandated reporters, if they don't do their job, what's to stop them from, just telling a false narrative or selling one over the top of me or using a mentally ill tag to prevent me from being heard, which is quite frequently common. The courts basically pretend that mentally ill means schizophrenic or delusional.
Yeah.
Which means that
It's the case, yeah.
That's exactly right, and it's not the case. But they're able to play that off if you don't have a friend or family member who's familiar with you and your diagnosis. The problem is that nobody ever attempted to contact any of my friends or family members, despite repeated calls and repeatedly showing them evidence, or attempting to show them evidence and give phone numbers. I'm never supposed to be alone with a police officer. That was the instructions that I was given by lawyers. But the lawyers that I spoke to before Natalie died, I followed all of their instructions. They told me to document it because
These are double-sided. English, Spanish.
I have to take it to court. I have to have documentation of what's going on.
Just because I
The
don't
problem
want to
is the
separate it.
people that I was staying with before Natalie died were ripping me off because they were drug dealers and they were basically just trying to mooch off of me for whatever they
So
could
this
get.
one's.
I paid their internet, I paid rent, I had to pay rent almost quadruple while I was there.
Yeah, IT just.
They did a lot of really messed up things, and as I had finally gotten a friend or family member to hopefully go in with me and turn it in, that's when I got the phone call that Natalie Bollinger had been killed and a lot of that other situations. Now, it's not just Tillamook County. The abuse that I'm doing here started off in Virginia in 2016. But people want to focus just on Natalie Bollinger and not on all of the abuse that I've had to endure over the Natalie Bollinger situation, including being blackballed by law enforcement and being blackballed by law enforcement stems from being assaulted by Officer Waylon Lowertide. They assaulted me and charged me with assault, and then Gillespie dropped the charges, and that was in the state of Colorado. Now, because the number of heinous crimes that are committed against me, there's a lot of different agencies that are supposed to be involved before Natalie was ever killed to just get it on. So I've been through the system, I've been through how it works and also how it's supposed to work versus targets of opportunity. A homeless person comes in, they're referred to an agency because the police don't want to do their job for a hobo, so they're gonna make some other agency do the mandated reporter thing and actually force it. But those agencies say things like, oh, we have no room on the caseload, we have too many people, there's no possible way that we can do that. You need to go to this agency, you need to go to that agency, call this place, call that place, without a representative though for my safety, a literal advocate. I just get harmed. I've had a lot of people, like the people who pretended to be Dove Rainbow. I think that should have been a cause for alarm when I brought it in here the first time, and I still think that should be cause for alarm, not just for you guys, but especially for Miss Dove Rainbow, with people trying to use her name that way. And it's not the first time. I've had a lot of people, but the Bollinger family had some of their extended friends from web sleuth groups and true crime groups pretend to be autism advocates or legal advocates or any number of things, and they basically just dragged it out for months and months and empty promises. And then the police said I never tried to get help, and there's a lot of people who did try to help me. The problem is that being targeted the way that I am, and the fact that I'm a disabled person who can't take care of myself, I have no defense against that kind of attack or any way to defend myself in any way, shape, or form from it. Not only that, I'm also physically disabled, so I'm incapable of defending myself against the physical assault. So that's the reason I came to TCCHC.
Now they finally came
because
about ya.
TFCC wasn't doing
I'm
their
like,
job.
come on.
And I
Right,
was
have
told
a
that I
great
needed to
weekend.
turn
You
it into their
too.
agency, and then they just started blowing me off. And like when I have to try to turn in the situation with the sheriff's department, the police department, since nobody helped me to turn that in or went in with me to help advocate for me when I had to talk to them, they get to sell whatever narrative they want instead of the evidence getting seen. So when it comes to advocacy, there's supposed to be an actual paid advocate. It's just a matter of the mandated reporters doing their jobs and making sure that the issue is addressed appropriately, which means making the call immediately.
Which one, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last part, which means what, I'm sorry.
Making the call immediately. Mandated
yes.
reporters
staying
are
until you
supposed
get
to make the
back.
call immediately, but not only that, this has got the stuff for how can it be prevented? At the hospital, they gave me the wrong paperwork. They gave me the stuff for elder abuse instead of disability abuse. The reason for that is because the stuff for disability abuse has a different set of stuff that we're supposed to go to. Because the disability abuse says that we're supposed to go to mental health. Well, I went to mental health. Mental health is supposed to be equipped to handle people with specialized disabilities. Except instead of doing that, we're sent to therapy appointments and it costs our Medicaid and Medicare.
Oh, right,
So,
totally.
I mean,
She's never done Jefferson.
it also addresses the different types of abuse.
Yeah, if you wanna snag it while he's
And
back there, I'll
I've
just get
endured all of
copies.
this type of abuse, prior to coming here, as well as most of this abuse, with the exception of the sexual abuse since being here.
So when you talk about an advocate, so have you gone to Northwest Senior Disability Services
I have.
to see about getting like some sort of caregiver?
I absolutely did, but I had to go alone, and that's one of the problems, is I go in alone, they pawn me off on someone else and say, have you gone here, have you gone there? Yes, I have. But I also have communication disabilities, and that's something that's being preyed on real heavily. Also, I understand that as mandated reporters, a lot of mandated reporters don't want to do the job because it's a lot of work. But also, if they don't, it leads to people like Natalie Mullinger getting a 9mm Glock 19 through her friggin' brains at McIntosh Dairy, and that just wasn't cool.
Yeah. Well, for the mandated reporting, so what that entails is making the mandated report, and then the number that we call, we state the report, and then they take it from there. And of course, they would check in with you, with the agencies that are part of the report as well, such as DHS, police facilities, everything like that.
The problem isn't that I don't know the protocols,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
that they're
of
not
course.
following. And that's the biggest issue with a lot of these agencies. They wanna either argue with me or they wanna tell me what the mandated reporting really is, and then I go look it up and it turns out they're full of it. And one of the reasons that I look it up is because I come in prepared knowing what the laws are. And then when they tell me something that's obscure, obviously I'm going to look it up as soon as possible. I'm not just gonna take someone's word for it.
Yeah, you need to be able to.
And because I do go and check that stuff, a lot of the stuff that I've been told by law enforcement, as well as by people at TFCC and even a couple people here, that's not what the mandated reporter laws are, and that's not what they're trained in. And a lot of that conduct is
I think we
inappropriate.
have
and
to
they're
just
trained in
update
it.
us.
Also sending me to churches because they're supposed to be mandated reporters, they all refuse to do the job. It's no wonder that so many child molesters go to the churches to work. That is a whole hornet's nest I can't even begin to. But a few of the abusive situations that I endured were within earshot of church workers. They are aware that the laws aren't just for children or people who are 65. Although people primarily try to go with the Google search version, the version that says it's just for children.
or elderly. Yeah.
You have to look specifically for the elderly or for at-risk adults, otherwise it just says children, and if you have to put in keyword specifics, that means that you're specifically looking up something important and you know what you're looking up.
Yeah, that you're trying.
Yeah, whereas if they just look up mandated reporter, it just says children. So a lot of people who are supposed to have that training don't. In Nebraska, hardly anybody has that training that's supposed to, because according to Nebraska state law, literally everyone is a mandated reporter.
Yeah, well, then that would be hard to have everybody trained then.
It would be, although we are trained with McGruff and elementary school
Yeah,
and
I
all
do
that.
remember that too. We had,
They don't have McGruff anymore. They have something different. It's some like cyber ranger in Nebraska. I'm like, oh my God, how weird.
yeah.
I mean, it's not any weirder than a talking dog in
Dog,
a
I guess,
tree.
yeah, he wasn't, he did kind of look, I guess, suspicious if you think about it now with the baby.
Right,
But he looked cool.
if I saw him at my local school, I'd pull out my camera and put it on YouTube. But only if it was closed. If you had it exposed at the school, I'd be like, that dog is walking upright, he's talking English perfectly, we need to call that in.
Yeah, what is going on?
Anyway, so the situation with them using Dove Rainbow's name and setting up fake accounts to harass me, this has been going on for a lot of years with me, but it's probably new to you guys being in a small town like this. You guys might have had to deal with a little bit of that when the teacher here got busted having sex with students, but other than that, I wouldn't imagine you guys encountered too many people like me who have been literally slandered worldwide. You can look up the name Natalie Bollinger on YouTube, and if you, it'll show you a bunch of stuff with Natalie Bollinger, but you can scroll down where it says in the last 4 weeks, and if you click on that, it's actually got Natalie Bollinger's story in 4 different languages. But it's not really her story, it's her predator's story. They were allowed to speak and I wasn't. I was prevented from turning in my predators or having assistance beforehand, and that allowed them to break a lot of laws and prevent me from turning them in. Because they were able to turn it in first, even though I started trying. They literally pushed me to the point of attempting suicide. And I'm sorry, I belched after eating oysters.
Oh, it's okay. I didn't even, couldn't even tell.
The last name of the lady is Hampton, the one from Health and Human Services. And I did sign a release. I was wondering if I could get a couple of release forms just to write down, to allow you to have a release and also to have Esther have a release.
Yeah, let me, send it to you from
I'll drop this off
how
at
it
Dr.
works,
Brown.
but, that way.
Yep, I'll take it right
we
now.
can
Thank
talk
you very
so
much.
That would be how it's, yeah, let me go get it for you. Could we get an ROI or verbal, I guess both, whatever, so that we can release his information to, a DHS worker when she calls? Yeah. And then, so we don't need it for verbal consent then, or? Okay.
That one you have to.
I know. Or do we need both?
Let's do both.
Okay.
So that we're
I
covered.
think we need both. Because then that way we can talk to her, and
Right,
if she needs records, we can give it to her.
yeah, so let's do both of them.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to put one.
Yes, please. Thank you. Yes. That's, you can, that's for you.
So is there a different ROI for the law enforcement?
Yes, that'd be a different agency.
Oh,
Oh, wait a minute. So to release information to them?
Yeah.
So you would put on there who it needs to go to.
Well, I'm gonna have to probably take it with me and make a couple of photocopies at the library, but, the She's gonna just want the names of the people here, and I have to fill out the ROI up there, and then I'll,
At DHS, so then they'll call us.
right, but they're gonna need the people that
So
I.
when you do the ROI, yes.
Wait, so,
Let
I'm
me-
sorry,
Do you
let
have
me
a pen so I can write it down?
You can come
Because
on.
people get
But-
real complicated.
let me
Here for my
confirm
4 o'clock
exactly what.
appointment.
So these ROIs are for us to give her information, is what it
But
is.
you can also fill one out there that gives them permission to call us.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
already did that.
Yeah.
You did
Care
that.
of this morning.
Okay.
Perfect, so you've already done it.
Yes, ma'am.
That's your permission.
Like I thought,
I was like, I just wanted to do it really quick. Okay.
So this
Our
one,
whole system's down, so we're doing it off of,
Right.
different things, so I'm like,
so then this
okay, no
one,
problem. You're good, just bear with me.
would give us permission to give her records from us and to talk to her about you.
We don't need to do that.
Oh, we don't?
No.
Not with
They'll-
DHS.
DHS will do that.
Oh,
In other words, if they're at another doctor's office and they're requesting records from us, they can fill it out at that doctor.
oh, so they can
They're
just take
just
these.
required to,
No.
they are required
He's already
to,
done it over at DHS.
Yeah.
So he doesn't need to fill this?
I'll have to fill out.
Oh,
a form
so
for
they have
anybody
to-
that they talk to
Yes.
though.
Phone number ends in 4190.
The paperwork's still there.
I'd like
Right,
to change
but
that. I have
the only one
1361
we
as
have
well.
written down so far was,
Can I change the
Dr.
1361
Boggs.
to,
Which
yeah, we'll
I
take
haven't
that.
spoken to yet, and also we weren't able to
971-354-7592.
part with Esther yet, so those ones I'll have to fill out. I did remember
Let me
Esther's
just
name.
double
We were- They had to have somebody else come in and use the room, so we didn't get everything finished. So I needed to write her name, also, right? The thing with Deb Rainbow is
All
actually
right,
pretty
you are all
important.
good, my dear. I will
That's been
recommend
going on
it
for 6 years, and for them
Sounds
to
good, thank you.
be trying to pretend to be her, to get in contact with me and try to pinch me for information, and that's baloney. I can't defend myself against that.
I'm gonna,
You're good.
you needed Esther's name.
I have Esther's name, I wanted to see if there was releases of information that were needed so that you could do it both ways, but apparently they're able to do that, they just need your names is what they ask.
Oh,
Perfect.
and then which, oh yeah, yes, Esther Janelle and
Oh, and let me add one other thing.
That is the-
That is our tax number.
Alright, good, their machine's broken down today, they're copy machines, so there's a lot of stuff we weren't able to do today. Like take copies of literally 4,000 pieces of paper and.
Okay, here's the other, Sean. It takes at
Yeah,
least 5 days before we can do
Where would I
it.
find?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
the
5 business days.
So,
So that wouldn't even begin today because it hasn't come in yet, it definitely
Right.
wouldn't work until
Right.
tomorrow and the next day are
And
gonna
then
be
sometimes
leaving.
my medical record person is out, so that can delay the later. But I have patients sometimes come in the next day and they're like, is it done? And I'm like, yes.
yes, so just. Would you like this though at all still, just in case?
Yes, although it doesn't do me any good to call them, it does do me good to have the information so that I can show that I was given a resource.
Yeah, because, these ones don't copy, oh no, I already, this is a copy, I made a copy of it, not this one, but these two here. Yes, please. Or is that okay?
Oh, yeah,
You wanna tell us?
absolutely,
Yeah,
only if it's red or pink.
it is pink.
can't.
Oh, it's purple, but I'll take it.
Oh,
Actually, I think it's plain, it's plain.
it's like a dark pink. So is that okay then? Or do we wanna?
Oh, you're
do you
right,
want
I
me to
know,
check it?
yeah, I just tried, I don't know how to get out of that part.
You're logged in as you?
I think it's probably at
I
least.
should log on as you, yeah, do that,
Um,
okay. I was like, I don't know how to work
Having the
yours.
name allows me to go down tomorrow and.
I'm like sitting here, I'm like, I don't know how well this is gonna go for me.
Oh, you're right, it won't be until Monday. She said that
She probably said
we'd be
tomorrow,
working on it.
thinking.
Hey, I can probably check them in
No,
now.
she
Yeah,
said,
perfect.
she
I
said
have
next week.
different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I was like,
Issues with the more extraneous noise goes on, the more my communication issues are, unless I'm able to concentrate.
Sorry, mine is very dark.
Other than that, we're cool. Please forgive my disabilities, but also pay attention to the fact they do exist, and it doesn't mean I hate you when I have it. It's okay to not be able to mental health You mean it's acceptable to be not hearing squirrel turds?
Oh my goodness, you should see the breakfast staff. We're taking out everything.
Yeah.
So then
Right,
that means
and
you'll have to
you are
log
so
in.
anti-vulgar at the moment, you must be Lord.
Okay.
Is there someone else?
We have to hold it together.
No.
Yeah, well, I don't know what all is gonna be going on, but the preservation of the evidence is pretty important, and that's, I believe that we're gonna try to focus on first, making sure that my evidence has a safe place.
Yeah.
I can't just keep my drug around.
Yeah, I think that's a really big step.
I tried to before, and I got a lady with a really bad attitude, told me to get a hold of you guys, or told me to get a hold of some of
I just wanted to make sure there was.
and then told me to get a hold of the police, which I already tried.
The last one is 3:40.
This time I just happened to get a lady who's not
thank you.
having a bad day, I suppose. Yeah, there's a lot of positions that people are taking right now because they've got mental problems, like the most
Thank you.
productive serial
Yes.
killers in American history are all female nurses. Also, female nurses have the highest body count of any mass killers in the country. By a lot, actually. The number one nurse for killing people in America estimated to be up to 600 people, but she was only convicted of like 180.
Wasn't that Angel?
I mean, that was a guy.
Oh,
It has to do it. I can get a credit card.
yeah, I guess.
One of the things though is with the true crime things that happen is Natalie Spilled. If you look up the name Natalie Bollinger, that'll give you a little bit of understanding. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. I just.
I'm gonna
No,
get the
sorry, we're not.
I did not. I'm here to make a co-payment. What do you prefer?
Alright,
My whole system is down, so
Okay.
I'm kinda in a dilemma.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm sure that there's more stuff that's probably supposed to say, but I can't remember.
Another one.
After what happened yesterday.
Right now, I have I both. I cash.
It takes
So
a while. and it's
we can do
difficult.
cash if it's just.
And they take
Well, we
up
can also
to
try
days
to
for
see
you
if
to
the
pay
system
for
works like this credit card.
Yeah. It's not much to do.
So I'm stuck on the phone.
Thank you.
because I'm on the-
Okay, how much is the total?
I'm not sure actually.
Well,
I might need to look.
Including my
You can't look
We
it up.
can't now.
Okay.
You know what? You can call me on the phone.
Okay, I'll call you on the phone. Yeah, and actually, I was actually.
It's all your fault. I was there, I saw it.
I
Yeah.
missed a bunch of appointments and they put me on an active list, cause
Oh,
I'm
is it
busy
from
with
Matt?
school. Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
yeah.
Cause that's gonna be a lot, but let me get
Yes,
your name.
I
and
can
everything.
help you in just a moment, okay?
Yeah, that's cool, yeah.
Alright, I'll try to wrap it
I'm
up in a minute or less.
Lucy.
Wednesdays are.
Right?
I
Oh
can
my
write
God, don't
down-
do stuff.
I know, right? Let me write down, I'm just gonna write it on the back of the paper if that's okay. And then just
Alright, thanks,
the
Matt.
name,
Alright.
Thank you.
number,
I will meet you right back here in 3 seconds.
My name is.
and my extension
And last name is Curry. CURRIE.
58. I'm the behavioral health assistant, like I said,
530.
and you can also call, and that way you can get a hold of me directly, and then, cause sometimes the girls up front are super busy, as you can see, and so it can be hard to get through, and then that way you can get a hold of me unless I'm away helping someone, which sometimes happens.
2 times ago when I came in here, there was 3 different languages being spoken at the same time and I had to try to communicate.
Oh, wow, yeah, it can happen,
Right?
yeah, it can happen.
You know what the worst thing about Spanish is? I spent a lot of money to learn Spanish and I just ended up getting ripped off.
Oh, no.
Yeah, one guy, he told me, you know what, $2,000, I will teach you Spanish. I gave him $2,000 and he disappeared 6 months later. He's like, well, I told you to get Rosetta Stone.
Well, that teaches it yourself.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost $2,000.
No, it doesn't. It's like a lot cheaper.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, it was nice meeting you in person, and yeah, you can call me. I'm usually here between 7:30
Wednesday at 4:30 during the week, okay?
All right, also, the crisis line that I've been instructed to call on the weekends if there's an issue, they're friggin' useless. So
The TFCC crisis line?
the one that they sent me to when I called the TFCC crisis line is a place in Portland that does it on the weekend, and the rest of the time they're they do it primarily for not Dove, but a program similar to that in Portland. So the same number, because I called them once for the TFCC, I also called them once for Tides of Change, and it's literally the same place. I was like, I talked to you guys before, why is it that you guys are calling and you're, you know, the name of your business or whatever it is at the beginning is different from the Tides of Change? And the lady said, well, because on the weekend, we take over those duties, and then on Monday, you call them. We're just basically crisis services. But they also, all right, there's a guy waiting on you. I better let
Oh,
you.
no, it's okay. He just left, so.
I'll see what kind of a jerk I am.
No, it's okay. Well, I was gonna say, I have a magnet with all the different numbers on it. If you like, I can go grab it for you.
I've called them all and been through the ringer with every single one of them, but if you've got a magnet,
Sorry about the
I
confusion.
wasn't trying to be rude or
There's so much
insinuate that you were
confusion going on
trying
in
to
my
give
brain right
me
now.
something that was gonna be flesh
No,
or turds.
Get used to one.
Yeah, I'll take
you
one.
just say weird things.
It's okay.
I do, my words don't come together right.
But I have two grown adults.
Let me go grab it.
That don't have a problem. Is he okay or is he coming back? He gave the info on the desk.
Okay, thank
And
you.
yeah, you're on your way because it's too hot in Portland, but I'll take it. So now, but Monday, Thursday,
My boys are
all the
coming to see me.
information there.
Yes.
I was gonna say, for being here, but I feel like nobody
left my
else
shades.
is what I say.
Oh, okay, cool, yeah, good deal.
So,
You know what?
Yeah, I missed like 3 appointments
Never
in
seen
a row,
Tommy, what
and then I got the
happened?
letter in the first day of class at TBCC. And
oh,
like,
okay.
yeah, I had a busy day.
That lady on
Going to
TV.
classes, and then the next
Alright,
Monday.
there's your receipts.
Looks like the lady I was just
And then
speaking
half day scheduled on Monday and a Friday, and it's gonna be work. So, yeah.
But we've got
You guys have, yeah, work sale and sort
Is there a time of the day on Monday that's good?
anytime before 2 p.m. Alright, so that's one of my classes.
Okay, Kimberly,
You should get a couple of black and white.
Perfect, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so she was putting on the schedule
One
and
was
call us
from
and like,
was
yeah,
the mother, and then you're standing here, I'm like, oh my god, both of those
Two, yeah.
people.
Okay, we'll write that on the number two.
I
On there, you can put on the-
But I'll give you a call in, or if you're okay, I just.
Oh, yeah.
The truck.
Okay, I actually jumped back to work, so, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. We'll talk later on the phone. I appreciate your
Of
time.
course.
Good deal.
I feel like I'm gonna stay late.
Fan me off, Kimberly, cool down. I don't know what I'm doing. Where does he live?
So you what? Yeah. We were talking about Tommy Boy over here.
Every time I give the receipt to somebody, I always ask, hey, can I get your Herbie Hancock? And I always want to say that because instead it, have you not seen Tommy Boy?
It's been a really long time.
Do you know what part I'm talking about?
It's been a really, really long
And so he said, oh, it's not a John Hancock, it's Herbie Hancock. And so I sit on his test.
Yeah.
So clearly that's all that's in my mind every time I have somebody sign
Do you have
something.
any questions, Sean?
And he's
yeah,
the only one
actually,
who's not in it.
One of the times that I came in here, I was arguing with somebody in here over, the person who works at Tides of Change named Tamara. Her name isn't Tamara, it's Monica. So I wanted to apologize because I argued even though I was wrong, but I do look stuff up, so I do admit when I'm
You
wrong.
always do a really nice job of this. I'm frustrated. and you always try and, so you don't worry, you can find him.
Okay.
I appreciate the apology, I'll let everyone know just in case it's one of them.
All
But
right.
you work with me and you're just fine.
Yeah.
Okay?
I remember telling him that the person I talked to
What do you want from me?
was somebody who doesn't actually work there, and the person
Over here,
was
over
saying, well, no, that person doesn't work there.
No worries, you're fine.
How do you walk away from an approach like that, though?
I mean, all of them are at this point. Oh, he's got one
Computers
more.
are down, so we're losing it.
Thank you, one for each.
Thank you.
I figured you guys.
I think.
Ow, I just bit my cheek. I figured you guys would like that. We know what's left on the schedule.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's like only 2 more.
Okay.
Or like 3 more.
Here, alright. So we did the ear pain one, right?
Yeah.
I keep hitting refresh.
So Melissa's been bringing her laptop out. She'll sign out and sign in, check them in, sign us out and give it back to her.
That's very kind of her.
Cause she charts as she goes. Have a great day. You too. If I were to head home, are you guys okay? It is.
Sorry, it took me a minute. They all look the same. I have 4 different magnets in there. They're all the same color and design. That's the right one.
She's not done with her.
Suicide prevention is everyone's responsibility. You know what I noticed about suicide prevention? Even though I'm trained in suicide prevention, most people I go to who work for suicide prevention are not trained in suicide prevention. Bless you, they're volunteers, including the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And I also spoke to the 988 number, and they sent me around in circles to places I've already been.
I won't get much done.
They're pretty useless. Most people, when they're suicidal, there's a reason, and that reason isn't that they need to be taken to the hospital, injected with drugs, and diagnosed with something that literally cuts their words off from being heard and discredits them as a human being.
The internet's not down.
They just they need to
Got it.
Almost all the girls that I know that cut themselves, there's a couple of them that cut on themselves because they had a crush on a boy who wouldn't take them. But most of them, it's because they can't keep his nasty cock beaters to himself, and mommy didn't listen when she tried to turn it in. It's a 2-part system. There's the abuse, there's the trusted adult that you went to and blew you off, and then there's the scars if you're a girl, or the grave plot if you're a boy. We tend to kill ourselves at 5 times the rate of girls, and girls tend to cut themselves at 5 times the rate of boys.
You're amazing, Shakehouse.
Not that I know my stuff in any way, shape, or form. I've been at this a while, and I grew up in the system, so.
Kimberly, thanks for all your help today.
All right, you hooked me up, so I'm gonna head out. Thank you very much. I wanted to let you guys know what was going on, and that they are gonna be sending you paperwork from Health and Human Services.
Good. Yeah, I'm really glad you got a hold of them.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
yeah, it was very nice, like talking with you. I mean, I know not everything was good that we talked about, but I did.
Well, on the
enjoy our
bright side, it's
conversation.
better than me having to try to talk to people at TFCC who showed up at random at Starbucks and want to talk about